Everything that you've seen me eat on TV, I eat. People are like, do you have a spit bucket? I'm like, are you crazy? No, that would be so insulting. The food's good. I mean, I only take a few bites. I always say I taste everything.
What does it take to get a more in-depth look into the week's top local news story? The Debrief brings you inside for a one-on-one conversation with our reporters. Every week, right here, right now. The Debrief. Lauren Scala wears many hats here at News 4. She never messes up her hair, but she does wear many hats here. Starts early in the morning and goes sometimes to late in the evening. We're going to get into it, especially if you saw recently in New York Magazine, the profile, Grub Street, Lauren Scala pairs pineapple cocktails with prosciutto and meatballs. And she says, my life has become one giant tasting menu. So, with food in the air around these holidays, we asked Lauren to join us on the Debrief. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm honored to be here on your podcast.
We're just trying to get on your calendar because we know it's jam-packed.
But you're the coolest guy I know. So I'm very excited to talk to you today about all different things.
I don't know what that says about your life, Lauren, but we'll move on. No, we're excited because we thought, first of all, this profile is great and it takes people through your day. And we kind of wanted you to do that with us because we look at you and wonder sometimes because we know how early your day starts, and yet it seems like your day starts after you finish today in New York, right?
Right.
So why don't we start there? Take us through your day in the morning as you did with the alarm clock punching you in the face, is what you said.
Right. My day starts in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So 2 a.m. that alarm goes off because we need to be in around 3. And that obviously makes for a very interesting lifestyle. And a lot of people kind of either know me from the morning show or New York Live and all the food stuff. If you know me from both, you know it's a long day.
Right.
So it's funny, after doing the profile and really paying attention to what I consume for 5 days, I have some very odd habits. Like I'm very much into sugary coffees. I guess that kind of starts my day. And you were saying, you read it, the Bustelo, Cafe Bustelo kicks you. It's like the alarm punches you in the face and then the Bustelo kicks you out of bed.
Right.
So I don't really eat during the morning show though.
Yeah.
You know, this whole intermittent fasting thing
is
like real popular right now.
Forced upon you?
Yeah, well, right, because the morning show dictates when I eat and New York Live sort of dictates what I eat. So you don't get to digest in time. There's so many things, you know, when you're on live TV, it's like the commercial breaks, like not enough time to go to the bathroom. So if you're gonna be there for 3 hours, like you gotta feel good and be present.
Take us how the traffic thing came about for you and what really is the learning curve for that over these years. I mean, that's one of the most important things that probably we do with local news in the morning is try to get people through their commute. Right.
Traffic was an opportunity that the station came to me. I was doing the weekend trivia show and they liked me, lucky me. And they said the traffic reporter was going on maternity leave. And since I was from the area, was this something that would interest me and they would train me to do it? And it was a great opportunity. And here I am 10 years later.
Wow.
So, I mean, I think I got like a week of traffic training and I really learned the rest on my own. But I'm a nerd by nature with maps. And my friends in high school called me Magellan.
Right,
because
is that right?
I was such a good navigator. Yeah, you would never, and I never knew that all these things would eventually translate into my career.
Wow, and then and 10 years later, that's a long time, especially on the morning show, right?
Yes.
It's like,
Don't
I
remind
did it for
me.
a little while.
No, I have a great team. They keep me up every day.
Yeah, and then evolved in this role with New York Live.
Yes, so I actually came from the lifestyle realm. I worked at Time Out New York Magazine before I was here. So that's how I started on the weekends with Pat Battle doing best bets, where to go and what to do. And even before that, I helped plan movie premieres and luncheons at DreamWorks Pictures in New York.
Okay.
So being on the events beat got me into the restaurant. So I would have to book lunches for Steven Spielberg at Jeffrey Katzenberg when they were in town.
Got you.
And I mean, I was an assistant, but I still, they were like, Lauren, go to the restaurants and tell us what's good. Go check this out. I mean, I had quite an expense account back then that I don't have anymore.
Right, okay.
But anyway, that kind of got me really interested in food and eating and dining in these experiences. And then as things evolved at Time Out, obviously that's a huge part of their brand. And then here on New York Live.
Okay, all right. So how do you go about choosing the places that you choose to profile? I mean, some of it may seem obvious. It's a new hot thing.
Right.
But take the listeners through that process.
I'm tough with what we cover. Sometimes it's funny, and it's evolved over the years, and the show has evolved. When Instagram was sort of just starting, the show was young, and we loved a food holiday. So if it was National S'mores Day, we would find 3 amazing s'mores dishes around the city, and some of that would be our own research. Sometimes pitches come in from restaurant publicists and whatnot. But now I'm less into the Instagrammable food, even though I think it's a huge part of what we do. I think the gimmicks interest me less, but as I'm older, what I want to spend my money on is not necessarily as gimmicky as it once was.
Gotcha.
I think it's just kind of growing into it and seeing how the food world and restaurants have evolved, just even in New York.
And yet social media is a big part of your presentation. Take us through your little social media game. Your little social media game. How was that? Your little social media
So it's like, I don't know if I want to admit that I have 70,000 photos in my phone, and obviously they're not all food.
Right.
I love to take pictures, but I've been documenting since day one almost everything I've had on the show to eat, and even not on the show.
Right.
So because it's been 8 years of covering restaurants, I mean thousands of them, and how many dishes on the table, I have to go back in sometimes and look things up. So I'll search pizza or burger, and all of the photos come out. I think we just saw my pizza folder. It's like got over 1,000 different shots of pizza. So I can pretty much identify just by looking at it, but it helps me know when we went. And it's amazing even to see how many restaurants have closed along the way that are in here. And just like, you know, it's everything's
It's a
changing.
tough business in New York City, especially,
It
correct?
really is. And it's nice that we can get out there and give that love to these mom and pop places and these restaurants, because that's one of the hardest industries right now in the city to survive in.
And so you do a mix of the high end, the 5-star Michelin, but also you'll get out to the boroughs or get out to, as you say, mom and pops.
Yeah, oh, of course. Like, who doesn't love a hole in the wall? You know, we just covered two of the stars that were two of the restaurants that were just given their first Michelin stars. And I love hearing their stories and the chefs and all the training they've been through. But I think New Yorkers like all of it. Like, sometimes a Michelin restaurant's more of a special occasion.
Right.
We need to cover the everyday things as well that people can afford. They're more affordable, you know, they're special occasion. We just really cover the gamut. But I love, in my own life, I kind of always like to find something right in the middle.
Right.
Good food, good experience. Like, I don't always have to have the best food at the best restaurant. Like, I think it's, for me, at least when I dine out, I want an experience with it.
Right. So, Laura, what's the difference between you and, let's say, a food critic? Because, you know, it seems when we see you, everything you taste, you love. And we're like, is that, so give us the backstory now. I mean, do you come across dishes that you're like, oh boy?
That is a very regular comment that I get. People actually don't believe me. They're like, there's no way that everything on the table could be good. So just, they don't think about TV production. We can't go in and stealth it like a reviewer would. We have to let them know that we're coming. Sometimes we have to sign like insurance forms just in case we break something. So they know we're coming. They have the chef in the kitchen and they're showcasing the best of the best. Sometimes the food takes a really long time to come out and I'm like, what is taking so long? Because we'll have 3 restaurants to get to in a day, and you know, maybe the chef didn't like the plating and they're just always working on that perfection. So if you're a chef in New York City at a restaurant, you're likely talented, and the chef is always making the food for us.
Right. Yes.
So
sometimes
I will tell them ahead of time. There are very few things I don't like, but cooked carrots, for example, I hate them.
Yes, we're outing you now as a hater
My
of
mom,
cooked carrots.
Yes, she will support that, and I have many people say, oh, I get it, I don't like them either. So if a chef is making...
I think it's a support group. Go ahead.
Thank you. Maybe a roasted carrot dish for the table, and it's one of their signatures. I'll say put it on the table, but I'll talk about it, but I'm not going to eat it on camera, because then knowing I don't like it, it's really inauthentic, and I try not to have things that I know I'm not going to like.
Probably the most unfair question. Favorites, something stick out over these years that you've done? I mean, that's probably unfair, not that you're endorsing anything, but just, I don't know.
I mean, of course there are favorites. I always say that one restaurant per quarter surprises me. So that it's just really memorable and there's something really special about it. There are so many great places. We do research. We don't, we're only out maybe 2 times a week covering multiple places. So the time is spent needs to be valuable time and places that are worth covering. And sometimes we want a little bit of TV flair in there. Sometimes it's just about the food.
Yeah.
But I'd say one per quarter really blows me away. So I have my personal favorites and go-tos, but food is so subjective. That's another thing. People are like, what's the best pizza?
Yeah.
My reply to that is always, well, what kind of pizza do you like?
Yeah.
So there's Neapolitan style, there's the New York slice, there's Detroit style squares, there's Sicilian, there's so many, and people are like, huh? And I'm like, you can't say anything is the best ever. Sometimes if we put titles on things, I'm always like, please don't say best. Because there is no best. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and what's your best is not my best.
Correct, right.
So I try to just, like I said, just feature things, show people what these places offer. Now, this is the best pizza in town. This is this kind of pizza, and whether I like it or not, this is what you can get here. And it's going to be someone's favorite, but it might not be yours.
So let's do a little celebrity dish, because along the way you've gotten to know some top chefs and restaurant owners, and in fact, it was sad, but when Anthony Bourdain took his own life, you were able to put a personal story together on that.
Oh, I was very much inspired by him. I just loved the perspective that he brought to food and in the world, really. And I look forward to the day that someone creates something similar to that, because I think there's a huge void out there. But getting to work with him for a few times, I think 2 or 3 times I got to work with him, was incredible.
Yeah. Bobby Flay, I think you know these
Bobby's
guys.
a friend.
Not that you're going to name drop on the Debrief,
Yeah, let's just
but since
name
you are
drop.
the closest thing, you're our celebrity, so you have to link us to those celebrities.
Oh, gosh, just cut it out. Yes, the Celebrity Chefs has been an amazing part of the job too. One of my favorite things to do with them is to have them take me to their favorite places to eat.
Exactly.
Because we know what they cook. We see them in their own,
Right.
homes, in their kitchens.
Yeah.
But when you get out with them, like Andrew Zimmern took me to Queens, and we did I think I had brains somewhere.
Wow.
I didn't spit it out. It was okay.
Right.
Because I respect what he does. And he took me actually to this it's called the Golden Mall in Flushing. And it's pretty famous, and it's not a mall.
Right.
But you go underneath, and they have all these different food stalls.
Interesting.
And the dumplings, it's like these grandmas making the dumplings behind the counter, and they're inexpensive and they're delicious. And anytime I'm out there in that area, like if we have a shoot over at Flushing Meadows Corona Park for the US Open or something, I'll always take my producer or my shooter, I'll be like, come try these.
Yeah.
And everyone, it's always such an experience. So that's why those hole-in-the-wall authentic places in New York has so many, and we need to keep them alive.
Absolutely.
We got to support them
and tell
go
them, and
in
you
because-
showcase them. You reminded me of when I was out working with photographers a lot. They always knew in the boroughs the place to go to eat. I mean,
Right.
they always had their spots, and it was always so uplifting. You did share a story though that one time something was put on the plate in front of you, and it was a deal breaker. Tell us that story.
It was uncomfortable. So, you're sitting there, often I am sitting there with the chef or the restaurant owner, and they're listening to you.
Yeah, and they're beaming,
and
waiting
that's
for you to...
why I'm really thankful I'm not a reviewer, because that's a whole different world.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so it was a Chinese New Year piece where you get obviously all kinds of menus and different items. And I think the menu that they had sent over was not quite what they had placed in front of me. And on the plate was a sea slug. And I was like, dear Lord.
Moving?
Please give me strength today, because I was so conflicted, because I'm like, I do not want to eat this.
Yeah.
There's a camera that's gonna, my face, I'm very transparent. You're gonna
Right.
know if I don't like it, or if I'm in a bad mood, good mood, whatever,
Yeah.
tired. And I basically had to try it, and I must have apologized to the chef 100 times.
Yeah.
And they put a piece of abalone in front of me too, which is this really expensive, it's like a giant sea snail.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I took my nibbles, I had a discussion with my producer afterwards.
Yes.
About please never let that happen
Okay.
again. And then they ate all of it. They were excited that I didn't want to eat it. They're like, oh, we'll eat it.
Yeah. And they
So
must
it worked
have...
out well, but yeah, that was.
They must have seen that reaction
so
before.
we really try to know ahead of time what we're walking into, and I have so much respect for all of the food and cultures, but that was tough to swallow, literally.
Gotcha. Right. Okay.
And I have everything that you've seen me eat on TV. I eat. People are like, do you have a spit bucket? I'm like, are you crazy? No, that would be so insulting. The food's good. I mean, I only take a few bites. I always say I taste everything.
Oh, that reminds me of the movie Sideways. Remember that?
Right. Hello.
All right, so we're in the holiday time. What's trending, buzzworthy? What are you looking at coming up? I mean, anything jumping out? I know that, for example, the new Nordstrom's open, and people are really buzzing about the restaurant and the drinking while you shop for shoes type deal.
Yeah, I have to say we covered it. I got to try all 7 eateries in there, and they have something special. I think that they talked about how 1 in every 4 or 5 transactions now is actually food and beverage in Nordstrom's. So it shows the demand for food. So like people are buying all these things, but
also creating an experience for shopping, because the big, you can get a lot of stuff. So they have to do that now, right? You see that?
And I got to say, what they have in there is really good. I hate to say that I was surprised, maybe a little bit. I didn't know what I'd be walking into. I figured it'd be good, but it was great. Wolf is the restaurant in there. It's open beyond store hours. Excellent pasta. The chef's from the West Coast. Everything was delicious. And then they have these really great mochi donuts, which I had never had.
Right.
And you ever have mochi?
No.
It's like the casing on the Japanese desserts.
I see.
Like on ice cream. You might have had it.
Okay.
Anyway, this donut, the texture of it's so different from anything I'd ever had, and it was delicious, and plus gluten-free. Everyone,
Yes.
likes to know about those things, and they have all kinds of cuisine in there. I was really impressed with the operation and the bars. The shoe bar, you can actually drink anywhere on the 2 floors. There are the bars.
Yeah,
and you can order food to your wherever. So if you're coach shopping with your kid and you're hungry, be like, I like the tacos. You can just go up to someone and ask, and they'll order it for you.
That seems brilliant to me. I'd be curious to know whether they see an impact on sales with that kind of experience.
Well, I was like, what happens when somebody spills something? They're like, yeah, it's the cost of doing business. I'm like, good for you, Nordstrom.
Wow. No, it's something. Okay, anywhere else? I know you've been to Hudson Yards doing some of that.
Hudson Yards, one of my favorite things at Hudson Yards is Mercado Little Spain, which is the Jose Andres Spanish market.
Okay.
It's very European. There's not much seating. It's a lot of standing communal tables, and you go to different stalls. Their tortilla española is insanely good.
Okay.
They have a paella stand. They have some restaurants inside too, but it's just a very unique experience for New York City. We don't really have anything else like that.
All right.
Because like we have Italy, which is the Italian one.
Right.
This has more food than it has product at Mercado Little Spain, but Electric Lemon over there is very good too in the Equinox Hotel.
All right, and then let's leave it with a mom and pop or some surprise you want to share with the listeners, something that they might not be on their radar.
Ooh. It's not necessarily mom and pop, but this restaurant, I want to give them some love because they're so talented, and it's on 8th Street. It's a little hidden away. It's called Ardenyn, Ardyn.
Okay.
And it's two chefs. They were former Charlie Palmer guys, and they opened the most amazing restaurant. It's tiny, and it's so, so delicious, and I feel like because of the location, you get foot traffic on that street, but it's a really special place. They have a great bar, and the food is quite memorable, so I'll give them a little shout out.
All right, there you go. Lauren Scala, so great for you to fit us into your schedule, which is always jam-packed.
Thanks, David.
And before you go, the other question is, how do you eat so much and then maintain a great physical presence?
I've never talked to you about my hollow leg. No. I say that all the time, but yeah, we shoot that stuff twice a week. There's plenty of time to balance it out, and I don't ever have time to finish it.
Finish the meal. You're only sampling.
Traffic gets in my way. I gotta get to the next restaurant.
Lauren Scala, today in New York, traffic reporter, New York Live, feature reporter, foodie, all-around great person. Thank you so much. I want to thank Jesse Edwards, and Ben Berkowitz and Harrison Choi from our Debrief digital team. I'm your host, David Ushery, coming from our busy newsroom. We'll check you next time.